weight loss, and we're into lesson 4 of module 2, which is all about progression and recovery. But before we get stuck into that, guys, as usual, give me a quick sound check. So say yes or type in yes or hello if you can hear me. And if you can't, as usual, hopefully you're reading the screen, you're typing no, so the support team can help anyone having any audio or visual issues. So let's have a look at what we're going to cover in today's lesson. So over the past couple of weeks, we've talked a lot about principles of training, programming exercise, and what we need to understand to really get the results that we want long term. And one of the most important factors to that, along with programming exercise, is recovery and progression. So we're going to talk about creating habit, and we're going to talk about creating habit again, but the psychology behind creating habit and why the 21-day creating habit thing is a myth and how it actually takes a lot longer. We're going to talk about progression in our training, because not only do we need to understand how to actually program our exercise, but progression is one of the most important principles of training when it comes to getting long-term results. And then we're going to talk about optimal recovery and things we can do for optimal recovery, like foam rolling, like reducing stress, like getting enough sleep, and so on, guys. So an absolutely vital lesson in the understanding of long-term results, again covering some of the most important parts of principles of training. So let's get stuck in. Let's talk about our risks. We always talk about our risks before we actually get into the content. So get your brain thinking for a second. What are the risks of just not planning progression and recovery? Like not being aware of if we're getting any better with training, and not being aware if we're actually recovering at all after workouts, or if, you know, we're not even pushing ourselves to the point where we need to recover. So if we're not aware of progression and recovery, what are the risks of our long-term results, guys? Short-term and long-term results. What do you think? What are the risks of some of those results? So very good, very little fitness gains, very little strength gains, kind of hard to keep motivation up, very good. Yeah, a lot of people saying the same kind of stuff. It's kind of similar to lesson 2. We talked about this kind of stuff, and it is similar. So let's go through it again. Again, you know, if we're not aware of long-term progression and not aware of a recovery plan at all, then we are going to see very little strength gains. Very little gains in our muscle groups. Now, here's the thing, guys. If we're specifically trying to tone up an area, so if we want our legs to be more toned and our bum to be more toned and our chest and our shoulders and our arms to be more toned, what we need to do is we do need to build muscle in those areas. We need to build muscle and lose fat. Now, to build muscle, we have to see strength gains. We have to be getting stronger, because that is the only true sign that we are actually building muscle. So we have to be either being able to get more volume in a 20 or 30 minute period with certain muscle groups, or just in general be lifting heavier. One or the other. Okay, one or the other. Little or no muscular development. So if we're not seeing strength gains, you are not seeing muscular development. If you're not seeing muscular development, you're not toning the areas you want to tone. That's where toning came from, a more toned athletic physique. No athletic development when it comes to your aerobic and anaerobic fitness, most likely as well, and frustration from lack of results. Now, and again, anyone coming from my Foundation course will be similar to this. Anyone coming from diet and weight loss will probably be similar. I know Sarah talked about this, and this month we actually combined those courses. They're the one course now. So we have Ultimate Body Transformation Part 1, and you guys are in Ultimate Body Transformation Part 2. So anyone that ever did weight loss or health and fitness, they're actually one course now. We just combined them because we noticed so many people were actually doing the 2 courses that we just combined them. Topic idea for more info on us oldies, especially not hit, then what? Very good. Gordon, let me write that down. I'm going to write down a couple of, so as you guys shout out ideas, so elder adult ideas, elder adult exercise. We do have a whole lesson on it, but I am going to talk specifically about what you can do and so on. Now, let's talk about creating habit. So what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Now my other favourite is obviously Conor McGregor, and you all know I'm a big fan of the Irish MMA star Conor McGregor, and he says there is no such thing as talent. I am obsessed. I am not talented. You could be anyone. If you work, if you put in the time, you will reach the top, and that is that. I am not talented. I am obsessed. So I'm a big believer in really enjoying the daily grind, really enjoying the process, and really creating the habit on a daily basis. So let's talk about a little bit of a myth we hear all the time. Let's talk about the 21-day habit. Because we hear a lot of the time about this 21-day habit, okay? So where the origins of the 21-day habit come from? Well, it comes from Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic surgeon back in the 1950s. And he essentially noticed that it took people about 21 days to get used to their new face if they had rhinoplasty. That's essentially what he noticed. So then he kind of did some studies based around habits in general and kind of came up with this 21-day habit rule. And it suddenly kind of entered the mainstream. It kind of entered the mainstream, really. What ended up happening was it almost became gospel. It almost became gospel. Okay? So, in regards to, oh, it was the amputation actually, yeah. The phantom limb was also 21 days, but he also noticed rhinoplasty. He was a plastic surgeon as well. But he noticed the phantom limb syndrome was also, it took 21 days for people to notice, like essentially that their limb had gone. And then it comes back and forth every so often. But that's essentially where it all comes from, right? Now, we know that this is kind of pushed a lot when it comes to self-help gurus and kind of fitness trainers and nutrition trainers and coaches and all that kind of stuff. It's used all the time. In fact, before I got very much into mindset training, before I very much got into the life coaching aspect and the creating habit aspect of personal training, again, it was something I kind of believed as well. I kind of taken it for, I'd read kind of, general kind of studies that kept talking about this 21-day habit and all dating back to that. But we do know actually there's a lot more up-to-date studies. So basically in the University College of London, okay, a researcher by the name of Philippa Lally, okay, she examined 96 people over a 12-week period. Okay, now each person chose one new habit for the 12 weeks. One new habit, that's it. And reported each day on whether or not they did the behavior and how automatic the behavior felt over a certain period. Some people chose something as simple as drinking a bottle of water with lunch. Others chose more difficult tasks like running for 15 minutes before dinner. And at the end of the 12 weeks, essentially the research team analyzed the data to determine how long it actually took each person to go from starting a new behavior to automatically doing it. Now, here's the interesting thing. That 21-day habit kind of rule that we hear about all the time, it was nowhere near it. On average, it took more than 2 months before a new behavior became automatic. The magic number they came up with was about 66 days. Okay? And that's an average. Most people was about 10 to 12 weeks. Okay? So that kind of disproves, the 21-day habit. It's not really true. Lally's study kind of showed it took anyone from 18 days to up to 254 days to really create that new habit. And she found most people were between about 66 and 80 days. So somewhere between 8 and 12 weeks. And I always say so many people give up the gym or their new fitness routine when they feel like they're not seeing the results and they've literally just got to the point where it's nearly habit. So ignore the 21-day rule, guys. Enjoy the process and make sure your goal every day is essentially to get 1% better every day until you've done that for 2 or 3 or 4 months and it really is automatic. Yeah? Sound good? Hence why the Ultimate Body Transformation Program is a full 16 weeks. What I've noticed over the years is working with people is it almost takes 3 months for people to really have it click when it comes to training, nutrition, and it comes to actually matching it with their lifestyle. And I always find from the 4-month on period, that's when they see amazing results, if they stick with it and if they create the habit. And that's why I made the Ultimate Body Transformation Program 16 weeks with the foundation course. All right? Sound good? Okay, perfect. And I always say, guys, the best way to do this is to do your Ultimate Body Transformation check sheet for your 3 semesters. Do all 3 semesters. Make sure you're doing your weekly goals, your mini goals, your 1% better every day, and make sure you're working towards that. Mine is still to reach 100,000 people this year. Mine is still to get all my workouts in, and I always do my mini goals. At the moment, I've been smashing out my mini goals, really setting aside time for project development, setting aside time for a lot of other stuff. So I'm a big believer in the check sheet until it's habit. You don't have to use it forever, but the 3 or 4 months. Then when you get to the stage where you're very good at planning your own diary, you can kind of ignore the check sheet. Yeah? Okay. Now, I want you to just think of something here, all right? I want you to think of creating a new habit as an update for yourself. So you are not just forming a new habit for a short-term result. When you actually think about it, you are creating a new, updated, better version of yourself. Okay? That's what I always say as well. Become the best version of you. Now, I've been in the fitness industry for about 8 years now. And as I said, it's my experience it takes around 12 weeks to really have everything click. And, around the 4-month period to really start seeing amazing results and just kind of stop worrying about those short-term results and really enjoy the process. So from now on, I want you to think about those habits as an update for yourself. It's a good way of thinking of it, right? So you never think of it as a short-term thing. You're actually thinking of it as a long-term update. So, now that we've covered that, now we're going to talk a little bit about progression. Some people, and this happens all the time, guys, in January and in September, they're the 2 busiest months of the year in gyms. Okay? January and September, the 2 busiest months of the year for gyms worldwide. Interestingly enough, March and the end of November, start to the end of November, are the 2 biggest months for cancellations in gyms every year. 8 weeks after the big boost. So why is that? Well, some people quit due to slow progress, not realizing that slow progress is still progress. And most of the time, it's the only speed of progress you're going to get. Maybe when you start off, you see quick strength gains, you see quick physical changes if you're lucky, and it keeps you motivated. But eventually those gains and that progress will slow, and you will have to be happy with really seeing slow progress and really seeing slow progression in everything you do when it comes to your body shape, your strength, your fitness, and everything else. Now, in my experience, when people are looking to get in shape and people are looking to be healthier, they're looking to get to 2 specific body types. They either want to just get to a healthy body shape where they have lower levels of body fat and they feel good about themselves in clothes. This is anything from 1 inch to 2 inches of body fat sitting over it once your health markers are good. We always find that the lifestyle that you need to nail into place for this is eating little processed food, so maybe 3 times a week at most, or small amounts on a daily basis. I always say 10 to 20% of your diet at most. Eating a balanced diet with some planning with meals and snacks, so people having a rough idea what they're having for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 80% of the time. Exercising 3 to 5 times per week, a mixture of strength and cardio, and carrying fat levels within healthy ranges. Now that's generally, I think, where most people want to get to. Find a very comfortable, happy balance between their nutrition, their training, still being able to socialize, and carry levels of body fat that they feel good about their body, right? Can we agree with that? Most people kind of want to get to that point. Around that point where they feel good. And then some people do want to get to leaner levels where you will maybe have to make some changes, or maybe you get to that level and you realize you want to go further. But obviously, we're trying to get from one level to the other at a time. We're not trying to go from obese or overweight to bodybuilder lean. What we're actually just worrying about is if we're obese, we're trying to get to overweight. If we're overweight, we're trying to get to healthy. If we're healthy, we're trying to get to athletic. We're not trying to skip 3 steps at a time. But that's the one that most people want to get to. If you want to get to the more athletic, yes, more tracking is needed, more specific training is needed to get to those athletic ranges, and we will cover that very much, especially on the nutrition side of it, in the next semester. All right, so eating minimal processed foods and alcohol, eating specifically planned diet most of the week, exercise with planned strength and cardio sessions very specifically, and maintaining and carrying very little levels of body fat. Most likely tracking all improvements and body changes over a 10 or 12 or 16 week period. To get to those levels, you need to be that specific. To get to just healthy levels, it is about finding a full balance of everything that works for you. Not necessarily tracking everything, but maybe for a short period to understand your portion control, maybe to understand what's working for you and so on. Yeah? So I did want to go back over them because I always get asked a lot of the time, that's what people are looking to do. How do we get there? We need to make sure that we're seeing progress in our training. So, if you're getting from one body type to another body type, you have to be getting stronger and fitter. Simple as that. So with strength, we're going to track all progress in our main lifts and in our workouts. In our aerobic capacity, we're going to track if we're doing things like running or cycling and swimming to see if we're improving in our overall time for a certain period or if we're just able to go at a different pace. With our anaerobic capacity, which is our HIIT training, we're going to track maybe 1 to 2 HIIT workouts every 4 to 6 weeks to see if we're improving with those HIIT workouts. Not that we're speeding up, our actual exercises, but that we're reducing the rest time in between. And Natalie's saying it took me quite a few classes with you and Sarah to realize that I'm actually making progress. Definitely happy you guys keep it realistic. It is the only way, guys. Like I say from day one, even to the foundation students, I'm the most honest personal trainer you'll ever come across. So if you expect me to tell you you're going to get amazing results in 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, you're with the wrong personal trainer. What I do expect is you enjoy the process and then, see the progression. No matter how slow it is, see the progression. And most of the time, guys, progression is slow. Now, do we always need to be seeing progression? No, we don't. We only plan for desired improvements and we maintain the rest. So let's say we get to body fat levels and body shape levels and training levels and nutrition levels that we are 100% happy with. Then what are we going to do? Well, then we're going to maintain that fitness level by doing all the stuff we do on a weekly basis. We don't necessarily have to get better at it, but we do have to maintain it by doing similar workouts all the time and similar paced workouts and similar challenging workouts. Otherwise, we will lose our fitness because if we just stopped, what's going to happen? We're going to turn around and go back in the other direction. So you don't always have to be improving, guys. Let me just say that, but to remind you that if you're maintaining, it still takes quite a lot of work to maintain. However, that work is the work you've put in for maybe 9 months, 12 months, 15 months, and it's so much of a daily habit you don't even think about it anymore. You don't even think about it anymore. Like me, I never even think of it anymore now. I just go to the gym, do my training session, go home, eat, work the next day, try and get a couple of runs in a week. And that's pretty much it. That's just my life. It's just natural now. Just natural. So hopefully I'll get everyone to that point where it's just natural. I always say people who do it all the time refer to it as training and nutrition, and people who don't do it much always call it diet and exercise. So I do lots of training and have good nutrition. I know lots of people that do diets and exercise, but they always do it short term. So training and nutrition, guys. You always know if someone is doing it all the time and they're like, how's your training going? How's your training going? It's pretty much just, it's a natural thing then. It's like saying, how's your day going? How's your training going? So let's talk about how to track these. Very simply, guys. Very simply. How do we track your base strength? First of all, we have to find your base strength. So if we're doing a session, what we're looking for is the first couple of sets we might do a light. And you can test all exercises. You can test your squat, you can test your bench press, you can test your shoulder press. You can do them all separately if you want to test. You don't have to do any of these in HIIT workout format. If you actually just want to test your strength base to see if what your strength base is, what your progression is, do them all separately. So one day do all your leg exercise, the next day do all your upper body exercises. So do them straight set format and just test them. So the first 2 sets of an exercise, you're going to warm up. Okay, so let's say we're starting with a squat. We might start with a nice easy bodyweight squat or box squat. Warm up 1 to 2 sets at 10 to 12 reps. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our working sets. So we're going to start loading the exercise with weight if we need to, or go on to a next progression. So if our warm up is a box squat, we might do a weighted box squat, or we might just do the full bodyweight version of a squat, which might be challenging for us at first in the warm up stage. So depending on the progression. You're looking for your 10 rep max. Then what does your 10 rep max mean? Your 10 rep max is essentially that the first 7 reps are easy, the last 3 reps are very, very tough. When you get to the point where all 10 reps are pretty much equally as challenging, but the last 3 didn't get any harder, then you can go up in weight or you can go on to the next progression. Because if you do all 10 reps without any struggle whatsoever, it's too easy. And then as you get better, you may program your lifts to improve. So you might aim to add a little bit of weight at the start of your first couple of sets, or you might just look to add weight in 2 or 3 weeks when you're very, very comfortable with a certain weight, and so on. Yeah? So you can look at your squat, your deadlift, your bench press, your shoulder press, or movements that you're doing all the time, and we can either load it heavier or do more volume, get more rounds in, more sets in. One or the other. Either more weight for the same amount of sets, or we're just going to get more sets and reps in the same amount of time, therefore we're taking less rest time. One or the other. So what does that look like? Well, let's say we start off the Ultimate Body Transformation Program and we're doing box squats. And we couldn't do a bodyweight squat. The only thing we could do is a box squat. We couldn't get our range of motion all the way down. We push our bum back, we drive through the heels, and this was very, very challenging for the first few weeks. Then we noticed after 2 or 3 or 4 weeks of working out that this was a bit easy. So then we moved on to the bodyweight squat. So then we push our bum back and drive through the heels. And now we're getting full range of motion. We're getting down to the bottom. We have a nice straight back. We have a nice comfortable knees out, driving through the heels and driving straight up, keeping the abs tight. Then this gets a little too easy, so then we weight the exercise. So we grab a couple of dumbbells and we're essentially doing the same thing, pushing the bum back, driving through the heels, but now there's more weight. And now this is too easy, so now we move on to a barbell squat, again on the back or on the front, pushing the bum back, driving through the heels with that full extension. Now guys, let me be very clear about this. If over a 12-week period, you went from the box squat to a weighted squat of some type, that is fantastic progress. That means your muscles have developed and improved over 2 different progressions of an exercise over a 10 or 12-week period. That is incredible. That is incredible. And you should be very proud. And if you're doing that, your body is changing. But don't expect to look like a bodybuilder if you're obese in 12 weeks, because it takes time. Or don't expect to be looking like that athlete that you want to look like who has spent 20 years training like that, you know. But once you're seeing progression, that's the important thing. Yeah, we understand that when it comes to strength, guys, before I go over the aerobic capacity one. Oh, it's very warm in here, guys. It's very warm in here. We all good with that, yeah? Have y'all gone silent? Are y'all still there? No one said that for like 7 minutes. Now I know I've been talking, but I'm still adjusting my workouts due to my knee injuries. No problem, Merrily. Again, you're just looking for progression at your own pace. No rush. No rush. Okay, guys. So let's talk about finding your base aerobic capacity. Mina saying yes, it takes time. Yeah, it takes time. You know it. But if you're enjoying the process, I don't mind it takes time these days. I just enjoy the process so much these days that I'm thrilled when I see the progress every kind of 8 weeks or 10 weeks, and when I don't, I just make sure I'm still enjoying my workouts. Yeah. Okay. So aerobic capacity, how do we test it? So we'll do a warm-up, 3 to 5 minutes, cycle, swim, run, row, elliptical, whatever, if you're doing it at a gym or outside the gym, whatever you want. Then you can track your overall time. So you can complete 2 or 3 or 5 or 10K in whatever you want, whether it be a run, a cycle, a row, swim, whatever you want. Now, what are we looking to improve? Well, there's 3 things we can improve. We can either improve our pace per kilometer, so we can track our pace per kilometer. Let's say we're doing 3 kilometers and we're doing 6 minutes per kilometer. We might be looking to try and get down to 5 minutes 45 seconds per kilometer. Yeah, we might be looking 5 minutes 45 seconds per kilometer. That might be what we're looking to do. Or we mightn't be worried about our pace per kilometer. We might just be looking to improve our total time. So let's say we do a 5K run and it takes us 40 minutes. And we'd love to get that down to 35 minutes. We just keep doing that 5K run a couple of times a week, and we can add in some interval sessions until we get it down, 40, 39, 38, 37, 35. And guys, really think about this. If you go from 40 minutes for a 5K down to 35 minutes for a 5K, you have improved your overall time by 5 minutes. That is something your body could not do weeks before that. The first time you tried it, couldn't do it. You are improving your fitness level. You are improving your what's known as your VO2 max, your oxygen and your heart's working together. You are improving your metabolism. You are improving your recovery. You are improving everything. Again, nothing to be turning your nose at. If you're seeing 1 minute improvement over a 3 or 4 or 5 week period, it's 1 minute of improvement. It's something your body couldn't do previously. Let me see, quick question. So John saying, so Jonathan, when are you using body weight, how do you increase the intensity in a HIIT routine and you do 12 push-ups in 30 seconds? So how you increase the intensity, John, is let's say we're doing as many rounds as possible in 15 minutes and we're doing the 12 push-ups in 30 seconds, right? And you can't weight it because you're doing body weight squats or body weight push-ups. What you can do is reduce your rest time in between rounds. And as you reduce your rest time in between rounds, again, it's something your body couldn't do previously. You might have been approaching the dark place the last time you tried that, but this time now you're trying to get through another round of those exercises or another few reps of those exercises, whatever it may be. The other thing you can do, John, is you can put a couple of kilos in a backpack and wear the backpack. If you're doing bodyweight exercise and you want to load a bodyweight exercise, you just put a couple of bags of sugar in a backpack and wear the backpack. Make sense? Marity's saying, that's how I gauge myself doing more than I did before. Exactly, we can gauge on overall volume. So are we able to do more in the same period? Or on loading the exercise? Are we able to lift heavier? One or the other. Both of them are progressive overload. Remember we talked about progressive overload a couple of weeks ago. That's what progressive overload is. Are we able to lift heavier weight or are we able to do more volume? If we can do one or the other, we're seeing progressive overload. We are overloading the muscle progressively by more over time. That's the idea. How do you motivate someone to just go for a 10-minute walk? I've been trying to get a person to start walking for a few weeks and she keeps saying I'll do it tomorrow. Ruth, if they're not initially, there's different psychological stages of change. And one of the psychological stages is they're just not ready to change themselves. They're just not ready to change themselves. They just don't want it. They don't have the motivation themselves, or they haven't got to the point where they're sick of feeling the way they're feeling. Like I have a load of friends that drink 4 times a week. I just don't see them. I see them once every month, but they're very good friends. But I'm not going to try and preach my fitness to them because they like drinking 4 times a week. And they're all, a good few of them are overweight, and a good few of them are kind of in their mid-30s. Smoking and drinking and looking a lot older than they should. But they enjoy their life. So unless they're initially motivated themselves, sometimes you can't push them. It's like, it's like trying to put your religion on someone else, or trying to put your ideas or ideals on someone else. If they don't believe in them, they're not going to do it. So you can kind of just support them, yeah, and you be like, well, whatever day you want to go for a walk, you let me know, I'll go with you. But sometimes it's hard to motivate someone who doesn't. Isabella saying, hang on every word you say and listening and learning. How can improve but stay on track this week is my goal. Good stuff. Thank you. Every 1% better is an improvement. Exactly. So how do you motivate them when they are on the stage for not ready for change? You can't really motivate anyone if they're not ready to change themselves. That's there has to be initial self-motivation. So think about it. Like if you're not motivated to learn the piano, no one is going to convince you to put the time in to learn piano because you don't want to learn piano. So it has to come from the person initially first. It has to come, so anyone, and this used to be always my advice to personal trainers, nutritionists that take on clients. Don't take on clients that if you ask, like I used to always say to my clients, and I even say it in the foundation course, anyone in the foundation course, remember this, I asked you on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you want the results? And I said, if anyone had less than 10, you're probably in the wrong place, and you should come back to me when your answer is 10. I said that, right? I may have let you away with 9, but most of the time I say, unless you said 10, you're probably not ready for it. Come back to me when you say 10. And that kind of goes with working with clients, because you can motivate someone who's already a little bit of self-motivated but don't know what to do. But you can't motivate someone who is in no way motivated to change themselves. So it depends. You can kind of guide them and you can help them with advice and be there for them when they're ready. But I used to never take on clients. If I said, I used to tell them, listen, I'll help you, no problem, okay? But I only work with people who are 100% committed. Now, I can show you how to exercise, and I can show you how to change your diet, and I can show you how to change your lifestyle, and I can show you how to enjoy the process. But you're going to do all the work, not me. And you're going to do the changes, not me. And you're going to do the working out, not me. And you're the one that has to get the results, not me. So let me ask you this. Are you 100% motivated to do this? Because if you're not, I'm not going to take you on. And if they said no, I'll be like, that's fine, no problem. Thanks very much. Come back to me when you are, and I'll happily help you. But I'm just not a big believer in working with people that aren't motivated themselves to do it, because they'll break your heart. And they'll get to a point when they're ready to do it. But sometimes psychologically they're not ready. They start talking about it, but then they eventually do it. It's like I always say, I used to sell gym memberships. And I used to ask people, how long have you been thinking about this? Have you been thinking about this did you just kind of walk in off the street? Or have you been thinking about this for a couple of months or a couple of weeks or when? And they'd say, oh no, I was just walking by. And then I talked to them for 10 more minutes. And they'd be like, yeah, I've been thinking about coming in here for 3 months. In fact, it's on my way to work. And I pass here every day from work. And I've just been building up the courage. So a lot of people, it takes them a while to get to the point they're ready. I know I went off point there, guys. Sorry, there were some good questions there, though. And guys, when it comes to aerobic capacity, if you're looking for overall improvements in your pace or your total time, you can plan your sessions to do that through interval training or just continually doing the run. Yeah? Sound good? Okay. And anaerobic, guys, a little more specific, but again, good ways of tracking your metabolic conditioning, your HIIT workouts. So your general warm-up as usual before your HIIT workout. Then you might track one specific workout. So say something like 10 squats, 5 pull-ups, 200 meter row, or something like that. And it's as many rounds as possible. So you're going to record your time, how many rounds you get, and never speed up the exercise, only reduce the rest time, and you can repeat that every 4 to 6 weeks. What you're going to get from doing that is, of course, you're going to see if you're improving with your overall conditioning, your kind of higher levels of your heart rates, and if you're improving in that, most likely you're losing a lot of fat. I always say that's a great sign that you're losing body fat if your conditioning is getting better, because it's very hard to get your conditioning better if you're not getting lighter and you're not losing fat. Very hard. So this is a great sign that you're losing fat, along with obviously your clothes fitting you better. Okay, perfect. Now, let's have a little chat about, so guys, give me 2 seconds. It's so warm in here. I just have to, give me 2 seconds. I'll be back to you in 30 seconds. Okay, sorry guys, I'm back. Woo! I had to get a little bit of it's almost like a workout sweat towel. It's so warm in this place. I'm in a tiny little room with like 4 computers, so you can imagine the heat in here, guys. Gets fairly hot sometimes. So there's a good guy. I'm not absolutely amazing when it comes to mobility and flexibility. I'm no yoga instructor. I'm no Pilates instructor. So I'm not an absolute amazing dude when it comes to improving your flexibility. However, there is a guy called Kelly Starrett. He has a website called MWOD, and he also has a YouTube channel called MWOD, which is fantastic for mobility and flexibility when it comes to really understanding how to improve yourself. Now, some of it's very athletic specific, and some of it's quite good, quite general stuff. So anyone that has any major issues, or any athletes actually, more importantly, the stuff I show you now in a second will be good for most people, but anyone at a more advanced level when it comes to athletes, this guy is really good. MWOD Kelly Starrett. Look him up if you're amateur athlete or if you're really seeing great results, but maybe mobility is your weak point. But the rest of this lesson will cover the rest of us, guys. Let's talk about foam rolling. I'm a big advocate of foam rolling. I'm a big advocate of foam rolling when it comes to loosening up muscle fiber. Stretching will only do so much, but foam rolling is like self-massage. So it's myofascial release of the targeted muscle. So if your right leg is tight, you can foam roll it out. Let me find it for you now, guys. Actually, Marion, let me find that site for you now. And I'll actually broadcast it because it's really good for any athletes. Any athletes that need it. You know, guys starting out, you don't have to worry about it, but athletes definitely use this one. So I'll broadcast the website. So great one. Yep. Okay, my keyboard is not working, guys. Okay. Kelly Starrett. Let me try it again. Okay. www.mobilitywod.com. Okay, for some reason, guys, it will not let me add. It's weird. Copy. I'll try it in the educated section, guys. Sorry, this is weird. Okay, no idea. I'll try and figure it out at the end, guys. It won't let me add, but just look up MWOD or MobilityWOD. It's mobilitywod.com. So if you're an athlete and you need to improve your mobility. So let's go back to foam rolling, guys. So you use it as a prehab, as a warm-up, as a recovery. It's great for all. So it's great if you're getting tight and you need to loosen out certain muscle groups. It's great for a warm-up. So if you don't have the energy to warm up, a bit of foam rolling will get blood into the specific muscles you're using. And it's also great for recovery after a tough session. Okay, it breaks up scar tissue in the muscle, something that stretching does not do. So it's breaking up scar tissue, allowing it to heal. It increases blood flow to the specific muscle, again speeding up recovery. It improves your range of motion of the muscle and the joint, especially if the muscle is causing tightness in the joint. And it helps remove lactic acid after a session. So if you do it straight after an intense session, it will help remove lactic acid, hopefully reduce reducing your DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness. So let's go over the main kind of muscle groups you may use it on when it comes to, it's great for lower body specifically, guys, especially the big foam rollers, and then I'll go through some of the smaller muscle groups in another practical. But if we're foam rolling out, sorry guys, sorry I had to sneeze. So if we're foam rolling out our quads, the front of our thighs, so let me just grab a pencil here. So if you look at the mirror, and I go here, so if you look in the mirror, not look at this angle, but this angle, you see the foam roller, and see the way she's foam rolling the front of her thigh. Now this leg is taking some of the body weight away, so she's not putting her full body weight on this leg, she's using her other leg to take off some of the weight, and she's foam rolling back and forth. Now this is called a trigger point. She's found maybe one point that's particularly sore to roll over. What we're looking for is the points that are painful when we roll over them, not the points that aren't. The points that are painful are the points that we know need to be loosened out. John, just seen your comment now. Between you and Sarah's weight loss course, I've lost 6 pounds and progressed from floor press to full body push-up, all within 10 weeks. This after I plateaued for over 10 months. That's amazing, John. And you see, just again, perfect example of good, steady, consistent progress. And that's a fantastic progression. Well done. Well done on that, John. So guys, so this is the front of your thigh. So your thigh is a big muscle. So you might start at the top and start rolling down until you find one trigger point. Once you find one trigger point, you're going to roll back and forth over it 15 to 30 times until it starts to loosen out. As it's easier to roll over, and this is quite painful, guys, I'll be honest. You'll be like, as you roll over it. As it starts to loosen out, you can put more weight into it until that kind of disappears. Once that trigger point disappears, then you go on to the next one, and you work your way down the muscle, up and down, at different angles, until you get rid of all of them. This will take a few sessions. You're not going to do it in one session, but if you do this consistently after your workouts as a form of recovery and mobility, it's a lot better than stretching. All right? So that's for your thighs, your quads, quadriceps. All right? Now, for your glutes, your bum, your glutes, your bum. As we can see, she has one leg crossed and sitting on the foam roller. But again, this foot is taking a lot of the weight, so it's not her full body weight. So she's getting her right glute, okay, and she's digging in. See the way she's kind of pushing in? There's obviously a trigger point about here that she's rolling over. Again, trying to find those points. You can get different parts of the glute. So as you get one part, you might turn slightly to get the other parts of the glute. And we'll get most parts of the bum pretty much as we foam roll back and forth. Okay? Then also we're going to get our calves, guys. Now, You can see she's putting her full body weight on this one, but you may not be able to at first. And if you can't put your full body weight, you're going to take this foot, put it on the ground to take a bit of body weight off and roll back and forth. Again, the same idea. We're rolling back on the calf to try and find the trigger points. Will these be in the exercise gallery? That's actually good. That's a good idea. It's easier to watch this in the recording because I'm explaining all this from this recording, Anna or Anne. But what I will do is if I have time, I'll try and chop it out of the lesson to put them into the exercise library as well. Is it bad to put your weight on the muscle you are rolling? Because I usually do that. No. If you can put all of your weight on the muscle, that's fine. But some people won't be able to starting off. So if you can't, if you foam roll for the first time, there's no way you're going to be able to put your full body weight on that muscle because you'll find about 30 trigger points that are just too painful to roll. So starting out, you might need to adjust. But once you get to a point where you're pretty good at your recovery, it will start to loosen out. Okay, guys? And we can also get our hamstring, so we can move all the way up from our calves, and we can eventually move up to the hamstring and get the back of the hamstring here as well, once we've cleaned up the calf, all the way up along onto the glute. Yeah? We can also get our lats. So our lats, if we're feeling tight, so your lats are between your armpit, and they roll down your side, and they kind of in about here. That's your lats, latissimus dorsi. They're on both sides. They tighten up. Mina's saying, yes, please, can we have it in exercise library also? I'll do my best, guys. Can't promise this week because we have first week in the new foundation course, but I'll try and get it in by next week. I should have time by then to, I do want to do a good few updates to the exercise library, so I'm going to set some time aside next week, hopefully, and get the foam rolling stuff in and get everything else in. But if, in the meantime, they will be in the recording of this, the practical session of the 25th of July until then. Available after this. Okay? And guys, again, you're only looking for 1 point. Then as you can see, 1 to 2 inches over the point until it starts to loosen out. Yeah? You can see from the back there. So again, a lot of weight just under the armpit. She's rolling back and forth. Yeah? Good. I think I said, yeah, you can do hamstring as well. I should probably do that in a different order. So hamstring after the calf, guys, move up. We can get our IT band. So our IT band is the side of our leg. So so there's a muscle, there's kind of a band at the side of your leg there. That's your IT band. Quite painful, the foam roll. You'll find a lot of trigger points in it. But it's a good one. And that's most of the lower body and the big muscle groups that you can do with a big foam roller. Everything else you'd need a smaller foam roller for. Or you can use kind of barbells, but I'll show you that in another practical. We get more advanced mobility and flexibility. I just wanted to go over a good kind of overall stretch session that you can do with the big foam roller. I'll go over some of the smaller ones in another practical. Sound good, guys? Perfect. Okay. And then lastly, guys, I want to talk about recovery. I want to talk about quality sleep because we do talk about it in the foundation course, but I want to go over it again because people start to get stuck in their training and stuck into nutrition and go a little hell for leather when they get really stuck into it and forget about their recovery and their sleep and their nutrition and their enough calories and so on, especially their sleep. You can use a tennis ball, Hussein, yeah, in smaller muscle groups like the upper back and kind of back of the shoulders and things like that. Just be careful with them. Don't dig in too much. But yes, you can. Very good. So, guys, quality sleep is vital for muscle recovery, especially after intense training sessions where muscles have been torn down by some degree. So, let's look at the importance of the stages of sleep and remind ourselves of how we can create good habit. Stage 1 lasts about 20 minutes, all right? So I'll grab my pointer. Stage 1 over here lasts about 20 minutes. So when the heart rate slows and the body temperature begins to cool, Okay, that's when it begins to cool. Okay, stage 2 is the transition between light and deep sleep. Okay, now this can take up to 4 hours. Okay, this can take up to four hours in and out of it. Okay, you're essentially doing different phases of sleep throughout your entire sleep period. So stage 1 is the first 20 minutes. Stage 2 is a transition between a light to a deeper sleep. The first 4 hours you're transitioning into a light and deep sleep on and off, but in long periods, and then in shorter periods after we've done essentially most of our deep sleep. Okay, so complete deep sleep is often known as slow wave sleep. So light sleep is known as what? REM sleep, rapid eye movement, right? So the deep sleep is known as slow wave sleep. So during this stage is when human growth hormone is released, when blood rushes to the brain, to the muscles to recover and repair damage, and part of your central nervous system are re-energized for optimal function the next day. So the first 4 hours is very much deep sleep with only slight stages of light transitions. Okay, that's where most of our recovery is happening in the physical sense of it. Okay, after 4 hours we are transitioning between REM and deep sleep a little more, but we know we need a minimum of about 6.5 hours sleep. Okay, 6.5 hours sleep. So after the 4 hours, REM sleep is where we dream. This is associated where we're learning and memory retention. So if you're not having many dreams at night, you may not be getting enough sleep. I can never remember dreams. That's a good sign that I never get enough sleep. So guys, we need 6.5. All right, we need 6.5 minimum to see a lot of these benefits. When he's saying the baby's so cute, yeah, they just look so peaceful. My daughter's the same. She's just asleep and she looks amazing and peaceful. If we can all sleep like babies. So what's happened? Less than 6.5 hours sleep. What happens if we get less than 6.5 hours sleep? Actually, just before that, guys. Eileen says, I think it would be great to take some time to talk about dealing with injury. Right now, I have a minor injury and I've been told to rest for 2 weeks. It doesn't feel right and I want to work out anyway. Eileen, that's a good one. We'll talk about that on Thursday. Slight injury and how to do modifications. Okay? Modifications for injury. That's a very good one because although we do have an injury prevention one, I do want to talk about that a little more. So that would be a very good idea. Colleen saying, after a long cycle race, I really need a good couple of hours sleep for my muscles and body to recover. I still sleep like a baby that night. Oh, that sounds nice. Colleen saying, Fitbit watch is great now to see the different sleep stages. I was wearing the Fitbit watch, Colleen, and my skin started to get all crazy because I was wearing it for way too long, and the sweat and the metal was starting to affect it, so I had to take it off. So I can't track my sleep. Less than 6.5 hours sleep a night. Sorry guys, I'm getting back on track. In regular sleep loss, cortisol can be 6 times higher at bedtime. In regular sleep loss. So if you're not getting 6.5 hours or more, your stress hormone could be 6 times higher at your next bedtime. This can promote development of insulin resistance, leading to obesity and diabetes. And we're seeing this a lot. And And regularly getting 4 hours of sleep dramatically reduces the release of leptin, causing constant hunger. Now, we know this. If you're getting more than kind of 3 days a week where you're getting less than 6.5 hours, your thyroid can slow up to 30%, which affects leptin, which affects metabolism, which affects appetite, which affects fat loss, which affects recovery. So if you're training and your nutrition is good, but you're not getting good sleep and wondering why your results are slow, it's your sleep. It is your sleep. Guys, I can't say how important it is about your sleep. It's just so important. And I will pop a link to an interesting study about kind of that goes more into this about kind of hormones and metabolism, sleep deprivation into the notes, and you can kind of have a look at that because it's quite interesting. But essentially showing reduction in a lot of things. And today's society, our generation is currently getting about 30% less sleep than the previous. So just imagine we have higher stress levels, we have higher incidence of non-communicable disease and lifestyle disease, we have higher incidence of cardiovascular disease and stroke and heart attack, we have more technology and less happiness, and we're getting less sleep. It's all pretty connected, guys. Quality of food, quality of sleep, quality of recover, we're all unhappier. How do we form good sleep habits? Eat a balanced meal at dinner time. Dim the lights 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. Don't sit in bright light. You're telling your body it's daytime. 1 hour before bed, no phones, no laptops, no TV. Sit in a bit of dim light. Let yourself get tired. Talk to your partner. Prepare the next day. Take zinc, magnesium instead of maize if you're struggling. And do your best to go to sleep after you've switched the brain off. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. The rewards of planning, progression and recovery. Hope you enjoyed that lesson. You now have specific goals to reach each workout if you understand progression. You now can identify training plateaus. You now can program for athletic development if you're looking to improve your strength or your aerobic capacity or your anaerobic capacity. And you can now plan long-term 3, 6, 9 months, 12 months, whatever you want to see changes in. Or maybe you just want to maintain. You can do all those things after that lesson.